Hey YouTube, what's up? And hi to the community. First, want to say thanks to all of you. I think I've replied a lot privately and thank you, but I just want to let you know that it's a pleasure to see all your postings and videos and information and stuff like that. Really helps a lot. Somebody that's been out of the hobby for a while, getting back in, you often are a little intimidated, don't know exactly where to turn. And again, I've just gotten a bunch of really helpful information from you guys in your videos and stuff like that. So I do appreciate it. Um, like I mentioned in my very first video, I was going to put up some more, and this is my second one. So once again, if the production value is a little less than optimum, please forgive me. But again, I'll learn as I go along, like a person does with everything else. But anyway, um, just wanted to give you just a quick little history of myself. I used to live in Los Angeles. Currently, don't live on the other coast, the East Coast. But anyway, um, while I was there, of all the crazy jobs and things to be, I was a theatrical dry cleaner. Basically, owned a business where we went and picked up movie clothes, theater clothes, TV show clothes, cleaned them overnight, and then kind of like vampires, run around, deliver them before they get to set in the morning. The cool thing about that is I've always been a big fan of comics and science fiction and stuff like that. So a lot of our accounts were science fiction based. And this is, I cleaned Freddy's sweater. But as he said, it still stinks. But there wasn't much you could do with it. But anyway, yeah, I did that, did Beauty and the Beast, did Star Trek Next Generation. I have some cool props from there that I'll show in upcoming videos. Anyway, what I want to touch about on this video is, we'll go get back to comics, is what I call the art of the trade. And you might wonder what that's all about. I'm sure a lot of you have, as you've grown up, used to trade things, trade lunch, trade marbles, traded Pokemon cards, whatever. The cool thing about trading that I find is you don't have to go out of pocket with cash. A lot of times people may have a lot of stuff, things, but not a lot of cash. And also, getting rid of cash is tough because, hey, you want to use it for other stuff. But if you've got a book that's hot, you get lucky, get 2 copies, say, of something, and it does hit, and somebody didn't get on that particular train, trade them. Say, hey, I'll give you this for that, or 3 of these for one of those, or whatever, whatever everybody thinks is fair. And that's kind of what happened to me. Make a long story short, I made my first submission to CGC. I tried to keep from doing that. I didn't like the whole concept, but finally I gave in. They won. I did my first submission to CGC, and the first thing I wanted to get graded was a bunch of copies of Spider-Man 361. The reason being I had quite a few of them from back when I was collecting in the 90s. The problem, in a nutshell, is, hang on here. The problem in a nutshell is I didn't watch your videos yet and didn't get them pressed. I should have probably opted for a quick press before I did it because they were in excellent condition. Basically, I bought them and put them in bag and board. I had my own reading copy, but the ones that I didn't, I put in bag and board and let age gracefully in a box and took care of them. Thought, again, they were in excellent condition, and they really were. The only thing is, you know how things are. They get a tiny little ding here, stuff like that, and things that can actually easily be pressed out. But I didn't know about that. And so I opted instead to just send them in as is and didn't pay a little extra for the press, even though they offered it. I probably, again, 2020 hindsight, you live and learn. But long story short, I got a few of the books that graded in as 9.0s, 9.2s, 9.4s, etc. Whereas I'm thinking possibly if I would have pressed them, they probably would have been 9.6s and 9.8s. But again, live and learn, not the end of the world. But anyway, I did get a few, by the way. Let me show you something. There's a few of them that I got a little bit luckier with. I got a couple 9.4s and 9.6 and that. But again, I do honestly believe that these would have graded probably all 9.6, 9.8 had I been smart enough to get them pressed prior to sending them in. But anyway, I went to a convention a couple weeks ago and brought a few of them with me. And I wasn't going to be too upset trading away a couple of the lower grades, the 9.0s, because I knew that selling them outright wasn't going to make a bunch of money. And I also knew that there might be people that still just wanted a graded book for their collection or something like that. So anyway, I went to the one of the stands, and there was a fellow there, and we got to talking, and he was a very, very nice guy. And he basically said, yeah, he wanted one of the books. He wanted one of the 9.0s. So I gave him that. So he got this, a copy of that, or one just like it, I should say, not this one. And he was very happy to get it. He didn't have any graded books. All of his books were raw. He was kind of a old school collector, and had a few boxes of stuff, back issues and whatnot. So we made a deal. Basically, what I told him is I was going to pick out some stuff, and when I had the pile made up, he'd look through it and tell me if he thought it was fair, and if it was, we would go or make the trade and go our separate ways, and that would be that. And trading something actually that I was very familiar with, very dear to my heart. Back when I did collect, I've collected a few times. I collected as a kid, and then luckily my mother didn't throw out my books. She kept them around, so I had a big trunk of them, but of course they weren't in great shape. They were in pretty good shape. But what really got me interested in it was one of the books that I collected was Hulk 181. That was in my collection, and then when I saw that what was happening with that book, it really sparked my interest. And back in the 90s, when I was in Los Angeles, a lot of the stuff was happening around there. The Image books, for example, were out, and they were having signings in Los Angeles at on Melrose Avenue, I believe, on Golden Apple. And I was one of those goofy people, stood in line to get Rob Liefeld to sign Youngblood, and Jim Lee and a bunch of those guys to get signatures and whatnot. But anyway, I also was very interested in Valiant books back then. They were red hot in Los Angeles. I don't know what they were doing in the rest of the country, but they were red hot. And I think people were trying to find alternatives for, your traditional Marvel and DC. And Valiant, the word back then was the story was excellent, and people liked that it wasn't, a huge company, that it was a smaller company. So Valiant was going absolutely bananas. I mean, through the roof. And I bought a bunch of copies. I really liked Harbinger. And for whatever reason, I felt, this is probably going to be a hot book. So I bought a bunch of issues 1 through 4. And those were absolutely insanely popular back then as far as hotness. People wanted them, couldn't get them, shot up through the roof. And back then, it wasn't unusual for the books to be in the $100, $200 range. A set of 1 through 4 with the coupon still intact was worth, quite a bit. So what I did back then is I traded, my sets of 1 through 4 for people that had key Marvel books, because that's really what interested me, was books that I felt were going to be tried and tested. Key issue, mostly Marvel, because again, that's my interest. Books, and that's what I did. So I did very well trading. Back then, the internet was just kind of figuring things out. There was a couple trading websites where you could put your book up, and they would tell you what they trade for it. And so I did a lot of that, and I've got actually a lot to show for it. That I'm very happy with, books that are near and dear to my heart, that I'll probably never get rid of. But again, books that I really, really like. And as far as Harbinger goes, I still have a few copies of them. But, it's nothing that it wouldn't break my heart if I traded them away, let's put it that way. So that was the way I looked at it. And again, ever since, I've been a very big fan of trading. So I want to show you my last thing I did, not getting back around to my story. I brought some of these with me, some 361s. I traded this fellow the 9.0, and I went and picked out some books that I thought was fair, and this is what I got. I want to share it with you guys. Nothing super, all really solid books, good stuff, but nothing, absolutely phenomenal. But still, we both walked away happy. I think I got a good deal. I think he thinks he got a good deal, so it all worked out. I got a Spectacular Spider-Man #2, in pretty good shape. The deal with this is I'm a big Craven fan, and I liked this for that reason. And I like the cover. I also kind of like, believe it or not, Tarantula. I think that he's somebody that probably is going to be featured down the line. So again, he's got a Latin backstory, and I think that that'll appeal to a certain group of people. And I think that that's why it'll always be a kind of a hot character. But I like this issue, #2. And also 147. Again, I always like this cover. Shows a lot of action, and the boots coming towards Spider-Man's head. I always kind of, once again, I really always like this issue. I had one, but mine was kind of trash, so this was a better copy than I had in my collection. I also picked this up, Black Panther 1. The only problem with this book is this was probably a subscription, because there's a crease going all the way down. And it broke color up here, sadly. Still a good book. Other than that, it's in actually really good shape. But again, what I'll probably do with this one is sell it raw. I'm thinking before the movie comes out. My fear a little bit was that he would get killed off in his movie, but now that I've seen him in the Avengers preview, I know that he's still going to be around, and he's still going to be an intricate part of the Marvel universe. So once again, I think this would be a good book to hang on to. But again, I'll probably sell it raw before the movie comes out. Also got Web of Spider-Man #1. #1 issues are always cool, and this being a black costume, which is the symbiote for Venom, my feeling is this will probably be a fairly hot book down the line a little bit when the Venom movie starts getting a little bit more front and center as far as our attention goes. So that's my philosophy here, is take this and probably get it graded and sell it when it gets hot. So that was my thinking when I saw it. Same thing with this. I've got a couple copies of X-Force 2, but I think this is second, if I'm not mistaken, second appearance of Deathpool. So that's why I felt it was a good thing to pick up. I also like the cover too. It's actually pretty cool. And same thing with this. Once again, my thinking being that some of the Venom, some of the Carnage stuff is probably going to get hot on down the line. And this, to me, is just a phenomenal cover with him holding up the skull of Spider-Man, kind of like Hamlet, giving a speech. I think again, this, even if I just hang on to this is one of my favorite covers, as is this one. Again, this was my favorite kind of incarnation of Venom. I know some people draw him kind of wild and wacky and stuff like this, but to me, this is a little bit more, if you will, realistic. And again, it's one of my favorite Venoms. I thought that Todd McFarlane did a really good job on this. Then, some other ones. Spectacular Spider-Man 6. The idea being Morbius. Think he's going to be a hot character. We'll see what they do with him. The jury's still kind of out on it, but once again, I'm sure this will have a, it'll probably bounce up a little bit. And I didn't have a copy of this one yet, so I may just keep this one in my collection. Just kind of a, Nova. I'm not a big fan of Nova. The only thing I liked is I like reflection covers. I like when you can see the reflection of the villain in either like Wolverine's claws or somebody's helmet or something like that, and that's what I really dug about this. So I picked it up. This I like just simply because I don't have a lot of Ant-Man stuff. I think this is like the second time that he's by himself. Ant-Man, and I know this isn't the first appearance, but I think this is the second time he did that. I'm not positive. Also, there's a Peter Parker appearance in here. So, book's in pretty good shape. It's getting has a little browning, but other than that, nothing really serious. No like major, color loss. Places where there's any color loss and things like that. It's good, nice book. And once again, another Tarantula. Like I mentioned, I like him, and this was very similar to the cover I saw before, the 147, but the difference being, again, this is first issue, and also I had a copy of this, and this was a little bit better copy, so that's why I picked it up. And then Son of Satan. Problem I have with this one, and maybe somebody can help me out there. This, I think there was a release date, 9/25, and I don't know if that's on there. I haven't really looked these over that much yet. It's either like a grease pen, or I think that's what it is. I don't think it's a magic marker, but I think it's a grease pen. I don't know if anybody knows how you could possibly get that off. I know sometimes with crayons and grease pens, because they tend to stay on the surface, they're a little easier to get off than something that sinks into the paper, like magic marker or something like that. So I do think that this is possible, maybe to get out, but again, I'm not going to lose any sleep if I don't. And then an early Daredevil. So I like this one. It's got Namor, Daredevil, and Spider-Man. It's issue 77, and again, I just like, I always like when there's multiple characters on the cover. So once again, I gave a 9.0, and then this is what I got in return, and I feel good about it. I think he feels good about it too. So to me, again, it's a win-win. Nobody had to pull any cash out of wallets or do anything like that. We all walk away happy. I just want to know if you guys done any trades, and your experience with that. What you got, what you gave, if you're happy about it, if you're disappointed, things like that. All right, so that's for it for this video. And thanks for listening. Give a thumbs up and subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.